Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bright Ideas Podcast. As always, I am your host, Trent Deersmid, and I'm here to help you discover what is working in e-commerce by shining a light on the tools, the tactics, and the strategies in use by today's leading entrepreneurs. And on the show with me today is Amanda Bond, owner of the Ad Strategist and creator of the Strategy System. Entrepreneur Magazine calls Amanda a Facebook advertising genius. She's a fiery personality, and she mixes education and entertainment in a straight shooting way to help people turn attention into revenue. And of course, we all want more revenue. And even better, she helps her people to put it on autopilot using Facebook ads. Much like myself, she is a Canadian, only she lives at the wrong end of Canada. Although I don't even live in Canada anymore. She's from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, or Toronto, as we used to say in Vancouver. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me here. And let's just agree to disagree on the wrong side of Canada, okay?
Yeah, sure. Okay. We won't get bogged down in a debate on that. Okay.
Perfect.
So you are a Facebook advertising diva, but let's hear it from you in your own words. Words, rather.
All right. Well, now I am a speaker and educator in the Facebook advertising world, but I got to this place not by just claiming that I was a self-proclaimed guru and knew all the things about Facebook ads, but I've probably failed with Facebook ads with a lot more dollars than some people have spent to this point, which, gives you the lessons, it gives you the wisdom, it gives you the insight. Not to say that I haven't wildly succeeded when we used to do ads for clients and began building an agency. So I've been in the trenches. I've seen it all. We do a lot of consulting for 6, 7, 8-figure different brands. We have an 8-figure Korean skincare company who deploys the strategy system methods. And I love Facebook ads. Why? Because they're just math. They're not magic, right?
Mm-hmm. So how much do you think you've spent?
I mean, personally, I probably spent 1.5 of my fingers hitting the keyboard to manage the ads myself. But by now, one of the people that we consult with, I've overseen and strategized and talked through. They're at 11 million in ad spend, just that one company alone. So, okay. I only have tracked again what my fingers have personally hit publish on. So yep. It would probably be at least 8 figures, maybe multi 8 figures by this point.
All right. So you say on your website, and you said to me in our pre-interview that Facebook ads are dead.
Oh!
So what's the deal with that?
So I go polarizing, as you can tell. It's obviously said facetiously because people are still getting results with Facebook ads, just in a different way these days. In 2019, the CPMs have risen over the years. They've doubled and then they've doubled again. Our link click costs are just going through the roof. Our CPAs are just climbing sky high. It's crazy hard to be profitable, especially in the ramping from 7 figures to 8 figures in e-com if you are reliant specifically on Facebook ads as your main channel. I've watched some pretty fast growth come to a screeching halt at a certain point because they haven't diversified their paid traffic or their media or their organic traffic strategies outside of this really small Facebook bubble, which we're getting to the height of costs, and it's only going to continue to get more expensive as we move into Q4 of the year.
Yeah.
So Facebook ads, like they were in 2014, where you could just throw an ad on and then laugh all the way to the ROAS bank, don't work the same way as they do, or as they did back then. Not to say that retargeting isn't amazing, not to say that if you have amazing copy and creative and you're just putting really great content out into the world, that you can't be successful with them. They just require a different level of optimization, iteration, and level of creativity than they did 4 years ago.
So I want to dive into that, but I want to ask you a question. First of all, I had heard or read somewhere, and I don't remember where, it was in the last maybe 3 months or so, that Facebook is basically just running out of inventory placement to put ads. There's just not enough places to put the ads, which obviously is then driving the costs up. Is that true?
I mean, yeah, just from the economics of it, if they don't have any other places to go and demand keeps crawling up, the
Mm-hmm.
only thing to do is like essentially whenever we put an ad live, we're entering ourselves into the auction, right? The
Yeah.
cost to the starting bid back in 2014, 2015 was very low, but now Facebook has proven its value. It knows that it can get a certain level of return on the attention that they have out there. So even the starting bid is higher. But then when large corporations, when big advertising money then comes to the platform, which a lot of it has in the last little while, what they can do is outspend all of the little guys. And so when you
Mm-hmm.
have people willing to outspend, I mean, it is an auction, so it's just going to drive the price up. And at the end of the day, that means that there's going to be a certain portion of the advertisers who ultimately become priced out of the market because they don't have the strength in their sales process, because their conversion rates aren't as strong, or because their marketing budgets aren't even as big as these big guys out there that, could spend $1 million on a TV ad and not even technically track the ROI of that specific campaign.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier in your intro, there's a big client. You mentioned one client in particular. Do you happen? I just interviewed a guy by the name of Mike Rhodes in episode 283 of my show, and we were talking about Google Shopping.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's a Google guy, and you're a Facebook person.
Yeah.
Does this advertiser that you mentioned in the intro, are they on all the channels? Are they on Google as well? Do you know?
They're on all the channels. They're doing ad roll. Now I'm trying to think of the, oh my gosh, why can't I think of the company? What's ad roll? There's another that does just placements in different articles. They're everywhere.
Yeah,
They're
I'm not the
experimenting
expert to
with
ask, so I
Pinterest.
wouldn't know.
They're experimenting on different platforms. So yeah, they are pretty diversified everywhere. However, the management definitely came from a strong performance marketing background, which meant that they had a really strong reliance on Facebook.
Do you know how in September of 2019, do you know how ROAS compares on Facebook versus Google for the same thing?
That I don't have the specifics on that.
Okay. All right. So the goal here in this interview is to make people, by the time they get to the end of it, smarter about advertising on Facebook than they were when they started
Perfect.
it. So we need to make good on that promise. And I want to do that by basically using an example and then kind of let's talk about the results and then let's unpack it in reverse so that people can avoid making stupid mistakes and paying a dumb tax. So let's talk about, I'd asked you to be prepared to answer a question about an incredible result that you had achieved. So what is that result?
My like one of my proud moments is it's not in the e-com space, unfortunately. Actually, no, it is in the e-com space. It's the same client, but we had a $700,000 day, and watching that all roll out as a result of growing their e-com side of the business, their information side of the business, seeing them be in business for 10 years to then create this level of momentum was really amazing. But I guess I'll use that exact same client that I'm really proud of their planner sales for it would have been the 2019 planner. So last year, starting in a pre-launch of July, we absolutely crushed it with one planner, did approximately $1.5 million in sales for that one product.
Okay. Are you at liberty to say what company this was?
I'm just not going to disclose on here just because I didn't ask specifically for the permission.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
So they sold $1.5 million worth of a planner. Let's start unpacking it. What did it look like? How did you do it? How did Facebook play a role?
Yeah. Well, first off, I always like to remind people that getting to that result took time, right?
Yeah.
There's so much not adding context in our industry and just touting these big astronomical numbers without sharing the journey that it took to get to that point. So this client of ours, I mean, they had worked tirelessly for years to get their brand to the point where their email list was almost 1 million people across different verticals of that company. right?
Okay.
So yes, we had a physical product, but it wasn't a physical product that was just launched. I believe it was their 4th year
Okay.
launching it, and they launched a brand new design. Right. So there was a lot of hype beforehand. They created a pre-launch wait list of past customers who had
Hmm.
success with this planner. And if you know anything about like planner aficionados, they're very specific. Like once you find one,
Yeah, I
you
know.
use it over and over again. Is that you, Trent? Like,
It
would you
was
use that?
back in the day before smartphones and electronic calendars and all that kind of stuff. There
Yeah.
was this company, and it was it was called Daytimer, and I don't even remember the brand
Oh
name, but
yeah.
you get the leather thing, and you'd
Yep.
buy the inserts every. I mean, dude, I was every year I bought the same thing.
It becomes like a little ritual, right? So
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, when you're doing e-com and you pick a product that has that like annual ritualistic like behavior, then what happens is your repeat customers just skyrocket. So I
Yeah.
think out of the gate, on the first day, our repeat purchasers was almost 50% of people that had purchased in prior years. So I mean, I see averages, and please share any averages that you see. I'll see repeat customers around, or returning customer rates around like 20 to like 35 on average. And out of the
Hmm.
gate, they had a strong
Hmm.
uptick from past customers.
So let me interrupt with this, because we're
Mhm.
talking about Facebook and the ad campaign, and they had all these other assets. Was that 1.5 million attributed to the Facebook campaign, or was that 1.5 million attributed from everything?
Both. So
Okay.
if I pulled it up, I think 1.3 came specifically from campaigns,
On
and
Facebook.
on Facebook, and upsells, cross sells, like
Yeah.
different things like that. And then the actual physical planner itself went on to do organic sales as well. We
Okay.
actually like, so out of the gate, we're talking about returning customer rate. So they had a strong returning customer rate. And I believe the reason that we saw such strength out of the gate was using and targeting our warm custom audiences. I call
Yeah.
them the 6 buckets, which if you run ads, you can target your website traffic, you can target your email subscribers, you target your Facebook page engagers. So anyone who's liked, commented, shared,
Yeah.
uh, clicked a link, right? Like that's why we find it so important to build assets, like social media assets, and not necessarily just to drive traffic to your product, but to
Hmm.
create an engaging, thriving community to
Hmm.
then drive to the product, right? So like getting that audience size up. You can target your video viewers on Facebook, and then the same engagement and video viewers on Instagram. The
Yep.
combined size of that audience going into the initial first month launch was over, I believe it was like 3 million warm audience size,
Yep.
which again, it's because they've been in business for so long. It's because they've been doing all of the right things years, or like year over year.
But
And
even just what you said there is actionable knowledge for the listener, because I'm listening to that and I'm going, yeah, I don't really do my 6 buckets very
right,
well.
right. And I mean, honestly, in Facebook ad success across any industry, your lowest CPAs will come from those 6 buckets. Like we did an
Hmm.
ad spend study of $48,000 where we split out each of those different buckets, and then we compared it to cold audiences going into a launch for a digital program. And the
Hmm.
cost per lead for the warm buckets collectively against the cold traffic was 50 to 100% cheaper, right? So it costs 2 times more to get
Yeah.
cold traffic, and that cold traffic is less likely to purchase even
Well, hell yeah.
after going through that launch sequence, right? So like if the biggest thing that you take away from this conversation today is go focus on growing those 6 warm buckets, it will lower your CPAs drastically over the long run, right?
Yep. Yep.
And again, everyone, like, as I'm saying it out loud, I'm hearing myself almost self-criticize, being like, oh yeah, it's really easy to get results when your client was in business for so long and had such large audiences. But then my response to that is like, yeah, that's the kind of clients that I want to work with. Like, I don't want to work with clients and who just expect results immediately, who aren't willing to play the game of long obedience in the same direction, who are not,
Yeah.
or like flash in the pan people. Like that's not the type of people that are going to get the success in the long term.
And I think it's important that the people who are listening to this interview recognize that fact, that there's not like this magic super formula to suddenly succeeding using
Right.
Facebook ad campaigns. It's part of a whole bunch of other work that you've been doing for a long period of time.
Yeah. Actually,
Okay.
can I share something real quick before we
Yeah.
flip on to the next question? I just jumped off our members live stream where I answer questions. And this week, somebody shared their result of implementing these automated sequences, right? These Facebook sequences that as soon as somebody comes into your world, you follow them around, you retarget them, you educate, you inform them until they make a purchase decision, right?
Okay.
And so what she had seen for a client of hers was that they immediately started seeing massive results out of the gate. And then as they began to scale those results, it started to drop off. So they were spending, 167% more than that first month. But the CPA on this particular product went from $174 up to $450.
Ouch.
Yeah, only 3 months in. And so what I want to share with people is like, once you go start focusing on your warm custom audiences, these 6 buckets, typically what we see is an initial extraction of what's that analogy when you pick the apples from the tree? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
The lowest hanging fruit.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh my. So
Thanks for the good setup to that,
right.
that metaphor.
The lowest hanging fruit. You pick the apples from the tree, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is like when you start targeting these audiences, especially if let's say your business has been running for a year and maybe you've been focused on growing an Instagram profile for the brand, you might have people that organically have engaged with you, but never clicked a link on your like organic social media. So what you'll see is maybe there's 100,000 people or even 10,000 people in these audiences. Once you start running ads to your warm buckets, they're going to cherry pick like the lowest hanging fruit. You're going to see an initial surge of sales. And then typically what happens is it drops off cold, meaning like your results tank because people aren't then refueling or like pouring more people into the top of the bucket to replenish those that you have shared your message and they weren't a fit for, or shared your message and they did become customers, right? Like there needs to be this beautiful cycle of finding new attention, nurturing said attention, indoctrinating them into who you are, showing your value, showing the testimonials that you have or the use cases, and then having them make a purchase decision, and then have that cycle constantly in motion. That's where I see a lot of people like failing with Facebook ads, is because they learn how to sell and then they forget all about the audience growth needs, which then puts them into this Facebook ad crunch. When costs go up, they're priced out of the market.
Yeah. And that's something we would like to avoid.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to get deeper into the weeds if we can, into the tactics. So when someone, let's just say, hey, I'm going to sell a planner. So I'm going to put up a landing page and it's going to be for sale, or maybe I'm going to do a pre-launch. And sure, I got an email list and I got some other stuff. So we'll assume that I've got 6 buckets, or maybe I've got 3 buckets.
Maybe you got 3.
I got 3 buckets.
Perfect.
What am I going to do? Where do I start?
Yeah. So what we did is we set up a landing page, treated it just like a sales page that you would see for a long form sales page that you would see for any product. Included social proof, we included testimonials, we showed the product in 3D, right? Because again, planners are very specific, or planner users are very specific, so they want to know what the pages look like. Showed so many great quality photos, and then had on that landing page a link that took them straight to adding it to cart in the Shopify store.
Okay.
So on that page was the sales page. We drove every single person to that sales page. And then from that sales page over to the Shopify store.
Hang on. Before you turned
Mhm.
on the paid traffic, had you split tested that sales page with their email list?
We
No.
did not in this case. No,
Why the hell not?
great question. We did not.
You got a million subscribers. What are you thinking?
Correct. I'm in agreement. I was not on the email team for this. So we didn't split test anything in this whole process,
Wow. Okay.
which was one of my recommendations. So please know that I am on the side of split testing, especially when you have that much volume going. Like, a 3% lift could be massive to the business.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So no split testing back. We're going to
do
create a Facebook
what I
campaign
say,
now.
not what I did in that example.
Yeah.
Correct. So no split testing. On go day, they sent emails to the list.
Yeah.
We then started the Facebook ad traffic to on day one, we started it just to the wait list. Okay. Yep. So they sent waitlist ads.
You'd pixeled people who went to the waitlist page and you started running ads to those folks.
Yeah. Well, no, we downloaded the email subscribers on the waitlist.
Well, yeah. Okay.
And then used a web or an email custom audience. So the first day was just waitlist. The second day we opened it up to our warm audiences. So in your case, it might be 3 buckets. This case, it was 6 buckets. And then on day 3, we opened it up to cold audiences. And then from there, we just continued to scale up budget day after day. And at the height of it, I think we were at about $7,500 to $8,000 a day, closer to the end of August. Now, there was a there was a discount for the pre-order because these products weren't going to be shipped until September 1st. Mm-hmm. So if you purchased from July all the way to the end of August, there was a price discount. And we saw, of course, as we got closer to the end of the discount period, when that countdown timer kicked in, that's when our CPA dropped even lower. And we actually started putting more retargeting ads that focused on the fact that this sale is going to be expiring soon. So we started running some urgency ads.
What was AOV?
$54.
$54?
Yeah, okay. $54. And then throughout the year, I believe it's like 38 throughout the year. So we did see an uptick in them also purchasing other products as well.
Yeah. Is the $54, was that the price of the planner or was there upsells on the back end that drove up AOV?
There was some upsells. The price was $39 for this price period. And then the regular price, I believe, was $49.
Okay.
So just to clarify the ads that we ran during that period, though, we tested every single placement. We tested so many different creatives. Like, we were constantly trying to refresh the ads, especially because we had such a long, quote unquote, like sale period that it can be hard, especially for warm audiences. If they don't purchase right away, what the heck is the incentive to purchase until it's about to expire, right? Yeah. So we were just churning through probably 25 different versions, 25 to like 40 different versions of like placement creatives, just hitting them in all different places. And our retargeting was just, again, the same things. I think we had 11 different stories ads just for people who hit the sales page in the retargeting sequence. So drove a lot of traffic. Go ahead.
What tool did you use to load all that up into Facebook? Did you use Espresso or something like that?
No, I'm a big believer in just using Facebook.
You do? Okay. Yeah. So you've got multiple, because you could add fatigue really, really quickly, especially if you're retargeting people like crazy.
Right. So here's actually my thoughts on fatigue versus frequency. Frequency, actually, let's start with fatigue. Fatigue means an ad isn't working anymore, right? Like, it's not giving you the ROAS that you're looking for. However,
I'm just thinking about it from the user's perspective. You get like banner blindness when you see the same thing over and over again. You stop looking at it.
Right. But it doesn't mean that your ROAS still isn't positive enough on the cohort of people in that interest. Yeah, right. Sure, so it's like you could have a frequency of 12, but if your ROAS is still showing that it's a valuable ad set to have, it might not be one that you turn off. right?
Yeah.
So that's why we did have, the 40 different creative. And once you hit certain pages, you started seeing other creative so that you would get a large combination based on your behaviors to really try and not have the fatigue happen.
Yeah.
But our frequencies did get up there. And again, we were okay with that because the ROAS proved that there was still certain people in our audience that were purchasing after that many exposures, or new people in the audience that hadn't seen it before, seeing it enough to justify the ROAS of it.
So if I was a user and I had been to the wait list and I'd signed up for the wait list, I could see that ad or an ad up to 12 times. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And again, there's 40 variations. So you could see that one 12 times. You could see another one 4 times.
And these are all showing up in my feed on my phone because predominantly that's where people are seeing Facebook ads.
Yeah. So we did feed placement, stories placement. We did right-hand column placement. We did messenger placement. Essentially, the way that we look at it is, especially in launch periods, like when you have a finite cart closing open, you just want to show up. And all of these ads targeted different different creative angles that all had the same underlying message. So out of those 40 things, those were 40 different ad experiences, right? So yes, you might have seen that one, we'll just continue with the 12 times as an example, but you also are seeing different angles, different options, just different creatives, different videos, different images. In a way, we create ads that are very fun and conversational, and sometimes don't feel like ads, right? Like one of my favorite things to do in a launch is not include an image or a video in your ad. I call it stealth ads because
then it just looks like a post.
Just looks like a post from your friends or family. So we told jokes in those ads. We asked questions of our audience. Remember, it's not about bombarding them to go to the sales page. It's about engaging them in a dialogue along the way to when people interact with your ads, it actually serves up to more people organically.
Well, that was my next question. If you get a whole bunch of comments on one of your ads, Facebook's going to show it to more people and your cost per impression is going to go down, is it not?
Yeah. So we would target after they purchase, a thank you for a purchase. What did you think of it? They would interact, leave their responses. And what happens is now their friends and family are going to start seeing their responses.
It's like a testimonial.
Ad impressions. Yeah, those ad impressions will keep serving up organically.
Do you think Facebook, so as I'm listening to you talk about this, so this was a $54 AOV. I have a product that I sell where the order value is about $2,600. It's a collection of standard operating procedures for people who sell on Amazon, and I sell quite a bit of it every year, but I've never used Facebook ads for any of it. It's generally affiliates in my own list, and I can't help but wonder whether this would work for something at that price point, because Facebook is my impression of Facebook, and I'm no Facebook expert, is I'm scrolling. Oh, impulse purchase. Yeah, nobody makes $2,600 impulse purchases.
Well, I mean, it's not an impulse purchase because of the ability to target people at very specific points of the buyer's journey, right? So
that's true.
If you have people visiting certain web properties of yours, certain pages on your website, what you can do is create a website custom audience of that specific page for a finite amount of time that serves them up relevant, nurturing content. So let's say for a week, you're going to serve them up content that's just value add. And then on day 8, you're going to start talking about this product collection that you have here. What you would do is then have those people go through, create an audience of people on day. This is going to be confusing. So let me say it differently. If anyone lands on that blog post, you're going to create 2 audiences. Let's say for a week, you nurture them, and then the next week you're going to sell something, or at least put it out there, get them over to the sales page. You're going to create 2 audiences from people that visited that page. People who visited in the last 14 days and people who visited in the last 7 days.
Yeah.
and then create an ad of include people who visited that page in the last 14 days,
But
exclude the
yeah.
7 days. So that
Yeah.
means from day 8 to day 14, you can now start talking or getting them over to the sales page. And then as soon as they click on the sales page, again, that's another trigger to then start serving up a different set of ads that are pertinent or related to that product itself, right? So
Yep.
it's like
Yep.
you wait for people's triggers, you wait for people's clues of what they're looking for, and then for us, it's about using ads to stabilize that sales process by using those triggers in an automated way, right? It amplifies the return on our investment by just mirroring things that people are already doing organically, naturally on your email list. We're just taking those steps and then reminding them that about whatever it is, wherever they found it from in the first place, because they could have clicked to your blog post from Google, right? They could have
Anywhere.
got there from SEO. And then
Yeah.
that means they had a different mindset when they came to your page because they were actively searching for it. And now they're paying more attention on Facebook. And if you have a sales process that works, $54 AOV, $2,600 AOV, doesn't matter. It's still the same process of selling with Facebook.
So tell me, in your bio, you talked about putting all of this on autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mean to say that you could have evergreen funnels that are essentially in addition to email, which is obviously a big part of an evergreen funnel, and maybe you're using Messenger, but you've also evergreened your ads? How the hell does that work?
Yeah, I just explained it in the last thing. It's about
Doing
understanding
the dates and the times and the 8 days and the 14 days, and they've done this. Okay. So
exactly.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
We're, without any visual aids, we're not going to be able to go any further down in the weeds on that one.
No, so just
That's a training course.
Draw out your sales process and then figure out where you can layer in ads using custom audiences with timers. And I mean, my own ads, I was in there today just to show some examples to our members, but the last time that I've actively created an ad was probably 2.5 months ago. It takes me less than 15 minutes a week to manage our ads because, of course, we spent time setting them up. We spent time iterating and optimizing. What I love to do is focus on generating a lot of organic attention and then using ads to amplify their experience as they're going through our sales process, right? Like the emails that they're getting, the ads are on top of that. When they interact on Insta, the ads are on top of that.
So a great example of maybe the way that I could do that is get myself on a whole bunch of different podcasts, talk about a particular page on my site. People are going to go there. Maybe there's an opt-in form. Well, presumably there would be, but not everybody's going to opt in. But then I'm creating an audience, and some of those people might go, if there's ways to follow me on Instagram, they might get in some of my other buckets. Then I can build an ad funnel basically around everyone's visiting that page and start to maybe promote a webinar where I sell the product, or maybe promote the sales page directly. There's all sorts, whatever you can think of.
Exactly. Literally whatever your heart can conceive of, you can create with ad sequences.
And are you able to also target, actually, I know you are. I could target somebody else's audience as well.
If they're an interest within Facebook, absolutely, you can target them. You can use lookalike audiences of your purchasers to put in there. And I mean, we also do an ad warming up process. There's 3 phases. We call it connect, commit, close, or audience growth, bucket growth, lead generation, and sales retargeting. And so those ads that create bucket growth are targeting cold audiences. And then based on those people watching a video, we warm them up and indoctrinate them by sharing valuable content, by sharing open-ended questions, by engaging them with the brand. And this works for physical products. It works for digital products. It works for services or experiences. It's just about cultivating a fanatical audience along the way. So we have that connect, commit, and close process that we run ads for, which, you can do podcasts, and you could also be warming up people via ads, which I believe, like we focus on 4 very specific things. We focus on the ad version of that connect warming phase. We focus on the podcast version. We focus on guest posting for other people's platforms. And then Pinterest is the fourth one that we have recently added, right? So all of those things work together to drive us traffic, which then starts the lead generation process if you're collecting leads for whatever it is. And then anyone who comes into our ecosystem from any of those four channels then also begins this retargeting journey of potentially becoming a customer.
Got it. All right. How long have we been? About 45 minutes, I think, so far. I don't even remember when we started. So I'm just looking at the questions that we agreed we were going to talk about. Now, we did make a question here to tell me about the systems that you've developed to make this a repeatable process. Because I know we talked a little bit off camera before I hit record, and you're like, well, I'm not really in.
Are you calling me out right now?
A little bit.
So
indirectly.
Good. Busted.
Yeah.
Actually, I do have a great hack for creating a system within Ads Manager. The beauty is once you've set up these automated sequences for a particular pathway, right? Like let's go back to the blog post example, which then you start this pathway. What you can do is create campaigns in Ads Manager that just act as template campaigns. Meaning you name them with your naming conventions, put in the proper buckets, the audiences, you like set it all up. So all you need to do is maybe change the date, maybe change the ad creative, but you have these template campaigns. For example, if you launch often, you could create like, let's say there's 6 campaigns that you do when launching. You then just duplicate those campaigns and you're ready to set up your launch. And so if you're finding yourself doing ads over and over again, it's beneficial to create a template campaign so that you can just duplicate that and not have to like set up the bones. But don't do it like me where I then forget that it's a template and then start using the template. And then I'm like, oh, I got to create another template.
All right, let us talk about the biggest couple of mistakes. So you sell I guess it's a training course or a community of some kind to help people get better at this. So you get to see people making mistakes, presumably, or even just out in the world, not necessarily folks that are buying your stuff, because your stuff would be so good that no one would ever make a mistake, of course.
Please.
But what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see people making when they're paying the dumb tax?
Yeah. The biggest mistake right now in our industry is there's this fallacy going around that you just haven't spent enough on ads for them to work. I want to throw punch people when I hear that.
Yeah, if they're not working right away, you tell me. My opinion is if they're not working right away, they're not going to work.
Accurate. There's no more accurate thing than that. But there is a fallacy in this industry and people are getting away with it. I've had conversations where people have been recommended to spend up to $20,000 because they just need more leads. No. Like if it's not working out of the gate, fix your sales process. Look at your data. Your data will tell you absolutely every single thing. Look at your conversion rate. Look at your sales conversion rate. Look at your sales page to checkout conversion rate. Like look at every single number and the numbers will tell you what's not working. It is never a game of just go spend more on ads because you're just flushing that money down the toilet.
So very important thing that you just mentioned, to look at all of this data. Are you having your clients, use Google Tag Manager so they can track every single thing? And then are they using Visual Studio and building dashboards? Because the reason I ask this is I was doing a bunch of advertising on YouTube not too terribly long ago, and it was really working great for a while, and then it just stopped, and I could never figure out why. So I hired someone to do, and he was on my podcast actually, to you implement tags across everything. Because when you start jumping from one URL to another, when your landing page is on one URL and then there's something on another URL and your checkouts, your shopping carts on another URL, all sorts of data becomes invisible or inaccurate. So how do you solve that problem? Google Tag Manager.
As the systems guy, like you're going to want to throat punch me for saying this. I make them manually do it at first. And there's a reason, because I want them to intimately understand, because there's
Uh-huh.
so many people in our industry that say terms, but they don't quite understand the implications of what those terms actually mean in the sales process, right? Like, because you're only one funnel away, right? So I
Yeah.
want them to go through and manually map things out. I want them to understand each and every thing. And so they just collect it manually. I want them to know their email open rates. I want them to know their link click-through rates in each of those emails for each of the links that you have in there. I want them to look in their ads manager and get their click-through rate from the ad. I want to know the cost per click. I want to know the landing page views. I want to know the opt-ins for any of your lead magnets. From there, I want to know any of your like tripwire sales, if that's something that you use. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
basically make them go in and intimately like get to know each of the numbers, and then create a system that works for them. Because once you've proven that something does work, you can essentially get to a certain level of scale without having to track things on the daily, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't want them creating systems for themselves that take 100 hours to set up if it's something that they're just going
Yeah.
to check once a month, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So again, for somebody who creates processes of things, I'm definitely the person that you're like, God damn it, Vaughn, just create something.
Pretty much.
And I say,
I'll work on you more off camera.
yeah, use Google conversion goals, Facebook Ads Manager, and then your sales data, your CRM, and then just put it all in a Google spreadsheet. And you're fine. You're fine.
Totally fine. That is one way of doing it, though. Let's not make light of it. I mean, you can
Fair.
do it that way, and initially, because why wouldn't you do it that way until you know that you have a sales process that's actually working reasonably well? Okay, now
Yeah.
I'm going to scale it up like crazy, and maybe now I want a fancy dashboard, and I'll hire
Oh,
somebody to make me that fancy dashboard. But initially, unless you just like spending money for the hell of spending money, I don't know that
right.
you necessarily want to do that. I was able to do a contra deal with this guy where I traded him some stuff and he gave me some stuff, so I didn't have to spend
Yeah.
any money.
That's so good. There's a tool that's coming to my mind. The name is escaping me. So how about I send it to you and you can add it to the show notes? It's not for Facebook ads, but I know it'll serve your audience. It's for FBA sellers.
Yep.
It'll track all of that. I cannot think of what it is off the top of my head, but it is beautiful the way that they visualize the data.
Okay. And
Yeah.
there's lots of tools that track FBA sales. So
Perfect.
I've used many of them, and most of them do a pretty good job of giving you pretty pictures and big
Perfect.
numbers and all sorts of things.
You know what? That's actually something that's lacking in the Facebook world, I believe. Something that communicates the data in an effective way. I've said that for a few years now, so that's a problem
You'd
that's never
think,
really been solved,
well,
guys,
then go
girls,
get yourself a
anyone.
developer. Go get
Right?
yourself a developer and solve that problem. I will
Yeah,
tell you, building software is no small undertaking.
I can only imagine.
And had it not been for my having a CTO, there's no way I'd be the co-founder of a software company at this point in time, because I look at all the turnover in the developers and the communication and the frameworks and the bug hunting and the QA, and wow, it's
Yeah,
a lot of work. So
yeah.
big shout out to my partner Kane for making all that happen, because
Way
now
to
we
go,
have
Kane.
we have a thriving software application. I was looking at it yesterday, and we're up over 2,000 users now, which is pretty
Oh,
darn cool. Yeah.
so cool.
Only then that's only a drop in the bucket of where we really need to get to. Anyway, I digress. So for people who've been listening to this and they're thinking, hey, I might want to learn more about Bond and what she does and what she offers and so forth, where should they go?
You can come on over to our website. You can find that at theadstrategist.com, where you can read the rest of my thoughts on why I think Facebook ads aren't working going into 2020 next year. Or come hang out on our Facebook page at facebook.com/theadstrategist, where we build tons of community and just have nonsense over there. It's fun.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Amanda, for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.